The sun burned hot over the desert road. Dust rose in soft clouds beneath the hooves of a stubborn animal. A man sat tall on its back, his eyes narrow with anger and greed. He was on a mission that heaven itself was about to interrupt, because that day God would speak, not through thunder, not through a prophet, but through a donkey. It was the time of Israel's journey through the wilderness. They had just defeated mighty kings. Their name carried fear across nations. Every kingdom they passed whispered the same thing: "Don't anger the God of Israel." But in the land of Moab, a king named Balak refused to listen to those whispers. He saw the Israelites camped near his borders like a sea of tents, and fear twisted his heart. He thought, if their God cannot be stopped, maybe a curse could. Balak sent messengers, rich men, riding fast, carrying gold, silver, and royal promises. They rode toward a man known for his strange power, a prophet for hire named Balaam. People said his words could bless or curse nations. Even kings trembled before him. When the messengers arrived, they bowed before Balaam's tent, and one spoke, "Our king says, 'Come with us. Curse these people who threaten our land. Whatever you ask, he will give." Balaam's eyes glittered at the mention of gold, but he also feared the God of Israel. He said, "Stay the night. I will ask what the Lord says." That night heaven spoke. "Do not go with them," God said. "You must not curse these people. They are blessed." Balaam woke in a sweat. He told the messengers, "Go home. The Lord has refused to let me go." They left, disappointed, but greed never dies that easily. When Balak heard the answer, he thought, maybe Balaam just wants more. So he sent more princes, more gold, and a greater promise. "Whatever you ask, it shall be done. Just come and curse them for me." That night again, Balaam went to God, and this time God's words were different. "Go with them, but only speak what I tell you." Balaam's heart leapt with excitement. He didn't care about the warning. He only heard permission, and he packed his bags fast. The next morning, he saddled his donkey. The animal had served him for years, loyal, gentle, and quiet. But as they began their journey, something unseen stood in the road, an angel of the Lord with a drawn sword of light. Balaam could not see it, but the donkey did. The donkey froze, then turned aside into a field. Balaam's face turned red with fury. He struck the donkey with his staff, forcing it back onto the path. They walked on until the road narrowed between vineyard walls. Again the angel appeared, this time closer. The donkey tried to press away, crushing Balaam's foot against the wall. He shouted in pain and beat the animal again. Now the road grew even tighter. No room to turn, no escape. The angel stood directly in front of them, sword gleaming like fire. The donkey trembled, then lay down under Balaam. And Balaam lost control. He struck the donkey again and again, cursing it with words filled with rage. Then the air shifted. Heaven did something that would never be forgotten. The donkey spoke. Its voice broke the silence like a miracle. "What have I done to you, that you have struck me these 3 times?" Balaam froze. His heart pounded, but anger still clouded his eyes. He shouted back, "You have made a fool of me. If I had a sword, I'd kill you right now." And the donkey said, "Am I not your donkey, which you have ridden all your life until this day? Have I ever done this to you before?" Balaam's anger faltered. "No," he whispered. Then God opened Balaam's eyes. He saw it. The angel of the Lord standing in the road, sword drawn, blazing like the sun. Balaam fell on his face. The angel's voice thundered, "Why have you struck your donkey these 3 times? I came out to stop you because your path is reckless before me." The angel pointed to the trembling donkey. "The animal saw me and turned away. If it had not, I would have killed you by now, but spared it." Balaam trembled like a leaf. He whispered, "I have sinned. If this path displeases you, I will go back." But the angel said, "Go on, but speak only what I tell you." The road was silent after that, only the sound of the donkey's hooves on the dust. Balaam's eyes were open now, and shame burned in his chest. He realized heaven had spoken through the least expected voice. But the story wasn't over, because when Balaam finally reached the king, he would stand before altars of sacrifice and find out what happens when a man tries to twist God's words for gold. The city of Moab shimmered under the sun. Balak, the king, stood on a high hill, his crown heavy with worry. He had heard that Balaam was finally on his way, and he thought, "At last, the curse will fall." From a distance, Balaam appeared, dust rising behind him, eyes still haunted by what he had seen on the road, and yet his heart wrestled with greed and guilt. Balak rushed to meet him. "Why didn't you come sooner?" he demanded. "Did you think I couldn't reward you enough? I can make you rich beyond your dreams." Balaam bowed slightly. "Even if you gave me your palace full of silver and gold, I can only speak what God puts in my mouth." Balak's smile faded for a moment, but he waved his hand and said, "Come, let's see if your God will let you curse them now." They climbed to the top of a mountain. From there, the vast camp of Israel stretched like a sea of tents in the valley below. The smoke of their fires rose into the wind. Balak's face hardened. "Build 7 altars here," he said. "Offer 7 bulls and 7 rams." The smell of sacrifice filled the air. Balaam stood beside the flames. He closed his eyes, waiting for a word from heaven. And then, the wind carried a whisper, a message, pure and unchangeable. Balaam turned back to the king. Balak's eyes were eager, hungry for words of doom. But Balaam spoke, and his voice rang like thunder across the hill. "How shall I curse whom God has not cursed? How shall I denounce whom the Lord has not denounced? From the top of the rocks I see them, a people who dwell apart, and are not counted among the nations." Balak's face twisted with rage. He shouted, "What have you done? I brought you to curse my enemies, and you have blessed them instead." Balaam lifted his hands helplessly. "Must I not speak what the Lord puts in my mouth?" But Balak wasn't finished. He thought, maybe another place, another angle, another God's favor. So he led Balaam to another hill, another set of altars, another 7 sacrifices. Again Balaam waited. Again heaven spoke. "God is not a man that he should lie, nor a son of man that he should change his mind. He has blessed, and I cannot reverse it." Balak stomped his foot. "If you won't curse them, at least don't bless them." But Balaam said softly, "Did I not tell you? I can only speak what he tells me." The king's anger burned hotter, but greed whispered again inside Balaam's heart. He wanted the reward, the gold, the royal favor. So Balak said, "One more place, maybe there God will let you curse them for me." They went to the top of Mount Peor. From there, the plains of Israel spread out before them. Balak prepared the altars once more. 7 bulls, 7 rams. The air shimmered with heat and incense. Balaam stood silent, eyes lifted toward heaven. Then, suddenly, the Spirit of God came upon him. He turned to Balak, and his voice trembled with divine power. "The oracle of Balaam son of Beor, the oracle of one whose eyes have been opened, who hears the words of God, who sees the vision of the Almighty, falling down, but having his eyes opened." Balak's breath caught. Even the air felt sacred. Balaam continued, "How lovely are your tents, O Jacob, your dwellings, O Israel. Blessed is he who blesses you, and cursed is he who curses you." Balak couldn't take it any more. He tore his robes and shouted, "Enough! I called you to curse them, but you have blessed them 3 times. Balaam turned, his voice heavy. "Did I not warn you, O king, that I could only do what the Lord commands." Balak turned away in fury, but Balaam stood still, caught between fear and desire. As the sun sank behind the hills, the sky turned crimson. Balaam looked down at the riches he had lost. He thought of the donkey's eyes, the angel's sword, the voice that had warned him. But inside him, a dangerous thought began to grow. If I cannot curse them, maybe I can make them curse themselves. That night he whispered his secret to the king, a dark plan, one that heaven watched with sorrow. "Send your women to the Israelites," he said. "Invite them to your feasts, to bow before your idols. When they sin, their own God will turn against them." Balak smiled slowly, and the seeds of temptation were sown. The next day, the daughters of Moab went into the camp of Israel. Their laughter, their beauty, their songs soon drew the hearts of many men away. They bowed before idols. They feasted at pagan altars, and God's anger burned against them. What Balaam's curse could not do, their disobedience did. But heaven was not finished, because in the end, God would deal with Balaam. And the man who once heard heaven speak through a donkey would face the price of ignoring that voice. The desert grew silent again. But the story never faded, because it wasn't really about a donkey. It was about a warning, a whisper from heaven that still speaks to us today. Section title: When God Speaks in Strange Ways. Sometimes God speaks in thunder. Sometimes He speaks in whispers. And sometimes He speaks through the most unlikely voice. That day, it wasn't a prophet. It wasn't a priest. It was a humble animal, one that had carried Balaam faithfully for years. Heaven opened its mouth through something ordinary, to remind a proud man that no one stands above God's will. Maybe you've heard that same quiet warning. Maybe not through a voice in the air, but through a moment that stopped you cold, a near accident, a word from a friend, a pain you couldn't ignore. Heaven still speaks. The question is, are we listening? Morning light rose over the desert. But this sunrise was not peaceful. Cries of judgment echoed through the camp of Israel, because sin had entered through the back door, and the curse that Balaam could not speak had been written by the people's own choices. The plague spread swiftly. 24,000 died, and among the dead lay broken altars, false idols, and hearts that had traded holiness for pleasure. Moses stood before the people, his face heavy with sorrow. He cried out, "Turn away from these idols, the Lord is holy." And in that moment, heaven showed again that mercy and judgment walk hand in hand. Far away, Balaam watched from the shadows. He saw his plan work. He saw Israel suffer. And for a fleeting moment, he smiled. He thought he had outsmarted heaven. But heaven had seen it all. Because years later, when Israel went to war against Midian, Balaam's name appeared again. And in that battle, the man who once heard God's voice through a donkey was struck down by the sword. The story of Balaam ended not in glory, but in tragedy. He had walked so close to the voice of God, yet his heart had followed gold instead of truth. Balaam's story is more than history. It's a mirror, because sometimes we are the ones riding blind, chasing after gold, ignoring the signs right in front of us. God sends gentle nudges, but when we don't listen, the nudges turn into warnings. And when we still refuse, the road narrows until there's nowhere left to run. The donkey saw what Balaam couldn't. And maybe in your life, someone or something is trying to open your eyes, too. It might be a child's question, a friend's concern, a door that suddenly closes, or a voice that says deep inside, "Stop, you're heading toward destruction." What will we do with that voice? Will we strike at it, like Balaam, or stop long enough to listen? Before Balaam's destruction, God gave him every chance to turn back. He spoke once, then again, then sent an angel, then gave a miracle through a donkey's mouth. Heaven fought for his soul, until Balaam himself refused to turn. And that's the love hidden in this story. God doesn't give up on people easily. He will block the road if he must. He will embarrass you, stop you, even speak through a donkey before he lets you destroy yourself. That's not anger, that's mercy wearing armor. Maybe right now, you've been walking a path that feels wrong, but the world keeps offering gold for it. Maybe you've ignored a quiet warning in your spirit. Maybe you've hit the same wall again and again, and wondered why nothing moves forward. Could it be that heaven is standing in the road, sword drawn, saying, "Stop, this way leads to death"? If so, this story is your wake-up call. Because God can turn even the hardest heart, even the most stubborn rider, back toward grace. And if he can speak through a donkey, he can still reach you. The dust has long settled on Balaam's road. The donkey is gone. The angel has vanished into light. But the echo remains. It says, "No one is too proud to fall. No one is too far to be warned, and no one is too broken to hear God's voice." The voice that spoke then still speaks today, not to shame us, but to save us. So the next time something stops you, a delay, a loss, a word that stings, pause. Don't curse the moment. It might just be heaven trying to get your attention. In the end, Balaam's donkey saved his life. It took the blows meant for him. It saw the danger he could not see, and through it, God spoke mercy one last time. Maybe someone has done that for you. A person who stood in your way, spoke hard truth, took your anger but loved you enough to warn you. Thank God for them. Because sometimes the voices that hurt us are the very ones heaven sends to heal us. If this story touched you today, don't let it fade like dust on an old road. Maybe share it with someone who's walking a dangerous path, someone who needs to be reminded that God still speaks. And if you want more stories like this, stories where heaven meets the human heart, subscribe, stay close, and keep listening, because one day you'll realize heaven still speaks, and sometimes it speaks through the most unexpected voice of all.